we have any agendas?
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know about number
It's
one.
right there. Money, do you want one?
Oh, I have one. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to admin on this Tuesday, June 18th. Annie, would you be so kind as to do roll call for us?
Absolutely. Online, it looks like we have Cheryl Hartman, Christina Devoir, Elena Evans, Alicia Buholtz, Martin Kidston, Maddie Scott, MCAT, Rita Hagler, and Cheryl Ziegler. In 206, we have Commissioners Strohmeyer, Bureau, and Slotnick. And we have myself, Annie Kathy, Carrie Powers, Allison France, Brian West, Chris Lounsbury, Marta Brown, Dr. Steve Mazur, Kevin Heisler, sorry, Danica Nelson, Griffin Smith, Harry Powers, Jenna Miller. Oh, Jenna, what did I just say? Sorry, Amy Bristow. Sheriff,
Peterson.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Sheriff Peterson, and Meter, Jeremy Meter, Deputy Sheriff.
That is impressive. Thanks. Thanks. It's a lot of names.
I can't believe I screwed up on the sheriff.
Okay. Is there any public comment on items not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing none, we'll roll right into the consent agenda. Today, we have 10 items on the consent agenda. We will approve these as a package today, unless someone wants to pull an item off for further discussion.
Just a couple things I wanted to comment on.
Okay, derailed already.
I know. I just wanted to welcome, congratulate, thank you, offer all kinds of gratitude and appreciation to Gina Miller.
Enthusiastic second that.
Yeah, there you go. And then,
Thank you.
Congratulations.
yeah. And the other one in here, I was reading this, United Minds. What's United Minds?
Yeah, so I don't know if Brian wants to talk about this, but the United Minds contract is the folks who do your involuntary, I believe, right?
That is correct. United Minds provides on-call services for us to do the involuntary commitments. They're available 52 weeks a year, 5 days a week to come in and do evaluations of individuals with mental health crises and are prepared to present testimony in court if we have to proceed.
Great, thanks. I just didn't recognize.
Yeah, so we actually moved to United Minds a couple of years ago away from.
2021 was when we first started working with them, and it really stabilized services.
Great.
We weren't having to call around the morning of to try and find a mental health professional.
Great. All right, thanks.
This reminds me of like the meeting we were just in, then who does Judge Beal use for his assessments? Or is this
totally different.
This is
Totally different
This is
assessment.
Involuntary commitment.
Susie started working with them initially, and now Talon does it. This is again the involuntary commitment process, dealing with individuals and need to be detained.
in crisis? Okay.
And if folks online are wondering, that's United Minds, M-I-N-D-S, not Minds, M-I-N-D. You're not doing an extractive mining here in this.
All right, I'd move we. pass the-
Before we go on, I'm assuming you were here just in case there are questions about the Forest Service.
Oh, yeah, thanks, Dave.
Contract. You guys just want to describe what that is for folks who do not know.
Sure. It's a contract that we've had for long as I can remember. Basically, part of the responsibility of the sheriff's office is to, work within the Forest Service areas, which include, search and rescue operations, extra patrols of campgrounds, stuff like that. And this is just a mechanism that the Forest Service has to basically reimburse us for some of that time. Granted, we far exceed, time as far as the amount of time we put into those areas. Sorry about that. But it's just a mechanism that we can utilize that money to offset personnel costs and equipment associated with those activities.
And for anyone, yeah, thanks for the description there. For anyone who's wondering, Gina Miller is our and will be our new public health officer, chief health officer for Missoula County's city county public health department. So.
I'd move we pass this consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion or public comment on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Come on in. You're looking for the county commissioners administrative meeting? Okay, we have 3 action items today. The first is brought to us by Cheryl. Cheryl online?
Good morning, Commission. So
Good morning.
I am coming requesting approval of the WellPath contract. WellPath provides services to the Missoula County Detention Facility for medical, behavioral health, and dental services. This is a 5-year contract with 2 one-year optional renewals built in. And they will provide all of the above services. The fiscal impact includes both fixed costs at 2.804 088, and then some pass-through costs, which historically the county has paid out separately. In this model, we're hoping to capture those by having WellPath actually pay those out, and it will just allow a little bit of visibility, I guess, in encapsulating all of our medical services. So they will cover the expenses of those pass-through costs. We will pay them to do that, and we will then have one fixed cost for medical monthly. It'll be billed out in 12 equal installments annually or monthly, sorry, for the year. Boy, I'm bumbling this morning. Sorry, guys.
You're good. Cheryl, just because we have guests who are interested in this sort of thing and media
Sure.
on the line, would you mind describing the process and how we got to WellPath?
Sure. So MCDF went out for RFP requesting proposals to provide mental health.
MCF means,
I'm sorry, the Missoula County Detention Facility went out for proposals to provide medical, behavioral health, and dental services to inmates who are incarcerated with us, be those inmates that are incarcerated by the county through our contracts with the states or the feds. Basically anybody within our care to provide comprehensive services for those individuals while they remain at MCDF, Missoula County Detention Facility. Through a competitive process, WellPath was selected for that just for the quality of care they bring, the options they have on the table for us, and obviously including the cost of providing those services. So they were our provider previously. They had some competition this year, but ultimately were the best option for Missoula County Detention Facility moving forward.
This is a statutory obligation. We could not choose to
Correct.
not provide this care. And just for you guys who are
Correct.
visiting, this is an interesting tidbit. Folks who may be on Medicaid, once they enter the jail, their Medicaid is paused, and we, the Greater Missoula County, cover the cost of their medical dental care.
any further questions on this item? Okay, I would entertain a motion.
Go.
Okay, I move that the board approve the agreement with WellPath and MCD.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion or public comment on the motion?
Thing I want to add is just thanks. I know that Cheryl and team went through quite an extensive process that took many months to get to this point. So we're appreciative of all her hard work.
Yes, thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Sheriff's Office and detention staff. It's been a long haul. Okay, let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Cheryl.
Thank you very much.
Martin
Have a
Martin
great day.
Dixon has his hand up.
Martin.
Yeah.
Just real quick, does the county pay those costs for state inmates held at the county detention facility as well?
Cheryl.
Yes, so that is inclusive of their medical care. However, the per diem that the state pays back encompasses some of those costs.
Does it fully cover those costs?
It does not.
No,
Okay, thank you.
we eat those. They're not delicious.
To the tune of what amount roughly?
So that's a complicated question to extrapolate just medical from. And a larger conversation that I think we've been having in terms of per diem rates and trying to capture back actual costs paid by the county from those individuals that we contract with. But currently the state's rate to the detention center is about $9 per inmate per day underneath what actual cost to the county is.
Thank you.
But that is not just in consideration of this medical contract.
It's a great question, Martin.
Yes, with a very unsatisfactory
Yeah,
answer.
it's a
from our
great, it's a
standpoint.
great question.
Thank you. Thanks, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. This is listed as Elena. There is Elena. Thank you. So we've got a professional services agreement with Advanced Chemical Transport. Doing business as
Yes.
ACP Enviro.
That's correct. Thanks, everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there today. This has been a long time coming, and we're very excited to be presenting this to you. This is not only for the collection of household hazardous waste at the year-round facility that is co-located with Home Resource that we hope to open soon. Exact dates still to be determined. But also for the Last Best Has Waste Days, which we are going to be holding September 6th and 7th. Because there has been a delay in terms of getting the year-round facility up and going. So we want to kind of provide an opportunity for folks to really clear out what they have sitting in their garage and in their sheds. And the key thing is that we worked through that addendum A over costs for how different things will be disposed of on a by, if it's a flammable or an oxidizer and those kind of things. And that'll dictate where it's also delivered to be either incinerated or, disposed of in some other way.
Do you have any projection on when the facility will open?
So right now, Craig Beebe with our office is out with the Department of Labor and Industry getting that inspection. We recently submitted our application to the state for the license to have this recycling center. And so those things are moving forward. And then we're also working on pollution prevention insurance. We need an electrician to get in to make sure that two of the vent fans are working to make sure there's sufficient air circulation, and then have the dry chemical extinguisher signed off on and tested. And so there's a few steps. We're inching closer, but I need to check off a couple of those boxes. But it is soon, and we are confident it will be open before that your Last Best Has Waste Days in September.
Okay.
Wow.
I was thinking next spring.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say next spring. That's awesome.
This is
Yeah,
over
it's
at the
exciting.
Home Resource location here in town, and folks know where that is.
Great.
Yeah,
I would,
it's a
I
good
would move
partnership.
that we approve the chair to sign the PSA.
Second.
Further discussion or any public comment on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Elena.
Thanks, Elena.
Excited to see this actually come to fruition. Okay, boy, we've got some big ones today. This is a good one. Kevin, fill us in on where we're at with some additional building permit exemptions.
Yes. So commissioners, I have in front of you a resolution to exempt certain residential structures from requiring a building permit in Missoula County. So to give some background story there for everyone, currently what doesn't require a building permit in Missoula County is storage structures that are under 200 square feet. So there's a pretty large swath of things that still require for residential. And so this is kind of a multi-step process to get to where we're at right now. So it has to do with obtaining feedback from Missoula County Voice from the public on what they would like to see the board to consider exemption options. So the Montana Code Annotated gives the Board of County Commissioners the authority to exempt certain structures from requiring a building permit. So taking the results from that survey and then also feedback from PDS and Health, and then fine tuning that resolution with John Hart, we've come up with a list of ones that we feel like is a fair place to land. So what we have now to consider for exemption are greenhouses and hoop structures, and they're defined in the resolution. For residential use with no public access, decks not over 30 inches off a grade, measured plumb from grade to deck surface, pergolas and gazebos. For residential use, additions to existing residential only buildings. So that would be like a covered patio, covered entryway, those type of things that don't include habitable space. Agricultural buildings. So previously in Missoula County, there was an ag exempt and Burke became a department in 2006. We dissolved that in 2020 because it was being misused, but we're bringing it back with some tighter guardrails. So it's kind of a multi-stepped process for somebody to get the ag exempt now. You have to provide a certification letter from the Department of Revenue classifying that parcel as agricultural. And it's a pretty extensive criteria that they have to meet. So it's not just somebody saying their parcel is agricultural and they're not using it for agricultural. And then the MCA is very specific that this is only for building permits. So although the commission may decide to exempt these from building permits, it doesn't exempt them from getting health approval and zoning approval for all of this. And so they would still need approval from those departments, provide the DOR letter of certification, and then we would file the affidavit for them to be ag exempt. And that's only for residential use. So if they had a factory use of the building and agricultural, like a slaughterhouse or something like that, then it wouldn't qualify for that.
Great, thanks.
I'm
Questions?
so excited that we got here. So thank
Lot
you,
of
thank you, thank you.
process. Yeah, a lot of
And-
work.
Attorneys, with
Pass
John Hart.
pass it
Okay.
on to John.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think those guardrails are great.
Yeah.
You have to be a farm to say your business is agricultural.
I think this will be a good relief valve for residents in the county.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks for all the work. Martin, any questions?
We were very excited about this. We're kind of a little subdued, but Martin,
Yeah.
please contact Kevin.
As opposed to tightening regulations, we're actually trying to make
Loosening
this.
some.
How long has the process been going to get to this point?
Initially, I think it started last September with a meeting with Commissioner Strohmeyer and a member from the public. And it's just kind of snowballed from there to really look at, kind of doing like a temperature check and see what we could loosen the belt on for regulations.
While not jeopardizing public health and safety. I mean,
what we-
that's the goal at the end of the day.
Were there any other, top options that were considered that ultimately didn't come up today?
Yeah, so the MCA, like for the state level.
Montana code annotated.
Yeah, Montana code annotated also includes SFR, so single family residences up to 5 dwelling units. So like townhouses, condos, that type of thing. But the feedback from the public on that was they were not interested in seeing those exempt from building permits. And this just applies to building permits. So you still need trade permits, so mechanical, plumbing and electrical permits. Yep.
Any other questions? Okay.
There's a question.
Oh, there is a question.
Oh, she raised her hand.
Hi, folks. I am a local farmer that I've been beating on your doors about this greenhouse. I see a couple of people who recognize my face in the crowd here. And while I appreciate y'all's work on this, I think that there's a couple things that are missing here, and made an effort to try and be here today. So I would like to be a commercial farmer, but I have been not doing the greatest job farming. And I'm not a Josh Slotnick just yet. And so if you kind of look through this, for this hoop house here, I totally agree with no public access, but it's missing a couple pieces where if I want to sell one tomato out of this hoop house, I can't do that. If I want to sell one bouquet of flowers out of this hoop house, I can't do that. And if I have my 2 goats that I allow on my 10 acres and I have ag classification, that means I'm a commercial outfitter and I can't have a hoop house. And so there's a couple issues if I'm reading it correctly in here, because it says for residential use only on the hoop house.
Thanks for the question. Let's get
Yeah,
some
yeah.
clarification
Thanks, Amber.
here.
Yeah, so you are correct. So if you were selling products out of the greenhouse, now it's not considered a type U structure, so utility type structure. So then it becomes more of a mercantile, right? So you could have a separate structure set up on your property where you could have the transaction of goods there, but for the greenhouse to be exempt, that's where it can't.
You could have tables in front of your greenhouse.
Yes, absolutely.
And
So
put the
it's
plants
only
for
if the
sale.
public is invited into the
Yep,
greenhouse.
yep, because we're not inspecting that structure for public safety, right?
Right.
As far as the structure goes, electrical and mechanically, yes.
Perfect.
that-
And I don't have a problem with that whatsoever. I don't believe people should have access into the greenhouse for those reasons. But it does say that it has to be for residential use only, which means it says that you cannot sell products produced in the hoop house.
No,
But you
no,
have to
No, yeah.
you just can't sell them.
Can't
From the hoop house.
You gotta take them out of the hoop house
them on the
and put them on
table.
a table in front.
Okay.
The main
that
thing we're
language-
concerned about is public safety.
Yeah, sure. That language is not clear, because if you actually look at the way that it's written, it says that you cannot, I'm pulling it up right here. Shoot, let me find it. It says that, to remain exempt, it can only be used for residential use with no access provided to the public for the sale of goods produced in the greenhouse. Okay, so I guess you're just saying that you can have it, you can sell things in the greenhouse or hoop house, but the public cannot come in to buy things.
Yeah, you gotta take the plant material out of the hoop house and go put it somewhere else.
The sale has to happen outside
The
of.
hoop house is a production facility, not a sales location.
Perfect. Okay, the term residential on that for residential use only was a little unclear. So I showed up here today just to try to make sure that I'm clear on what that line is there.
Does the end of that sentence offer any clarification where it says that, there's a preposition, or should we? I mean, but the preposition isn't as strong as the noun, so that's what people maybe get hung up on.
What is the preposition in the
In-
noun in the case at hand?
In, and then the preposition or the noun or the adjective would be.
What does it say?
Maybe we just need to
Residential.
specify that the hoop houses and greenhouses are for production.
So
You produce things, but then you sell them elsewhere.
Mhm. Yeah, it should probably say goods produced from the greenhouse.
There you go. There you
We,
go. Brian, can we change a preposition on the fly or do we need to?
And maybe there
I
can
think we
be
can,
an
we can
FAQ. Can there be like an FAQ that goes with this so that
Oh, yes,
Sure,
that's a
absolutely.
great idea, Amberly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it would be okay in your motion to signify that as amended,
There we go.
language. Yeah.
Prove it as is, try the fact, and staff's not working, if they're getting a lot of questions, we can come back and alter
Okay.
language in the future.
Okay. And I think FAQs make tons of sense. Everly, thanks a ton for your input.
Thanks so much, y'all. Nice work on this. Thank you so much.
All right. I would request the board approve the resolution for building permit exemptions. Oh, there's a question. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry, public comment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so as I understand it, when this building permit process was put in place in 2006, I'm looking at the resolution from then. And the exemptions then were for owner-built structures, residential structures, agricultural structures, and then all exemptions listed in section R105.2 of the IRC. So that includes things like one-story detached structures under 200 square feet, fences, retaining walls, water tanks, there's numerous items there. So then we go to 2022, when you eliminated only the agricultural exemption. I'm looking at that resolution. Says nothing about eliminating these exemptions from R105.2. So as far as I understand it, those still held as of 2022.
There's your guy.
There's your answer, because what happened was before 2020 or 2006, the county commissioners asked for feedback. The feedback from most of the contractors everywhere was that they did not want building permits on private residential structures at all. The county commissioners at that point in time told people that it would not apply. The state came back and sued Missoula County and said, you cannot say that contractors have to get building permits while individuals don't have to get building permits, because it was discrimination against handicapped people who had to hire a contractor to do it. So without any public notice, without any further public hearing, they reversed it a few months later and said building permits were required for all structures in 2006 or 7 or something like that. So you're missing a page somewhere in your timeline that happened. So then we get to 2022, where we adopt a new set of codes that make things more stringent.
Okay, so that eliminated all these exemptions in 105.2.
As far as I know, and it was.
Can you identify yourself for?
Dan
the record?
Nelson.
No, the.
Jeffrey James Halverson.
Okay.
Um,
Kevin, would you like to
Yeah,
respond to
so
some of this?
we still follow the exemptions in the IRC and the IBC that says right there in 105
Mhm.
that what are not required for a building permit.
okay.
We still follow that.
You
We clarified that was for storage only under 200 square feet, because people would hear under 200 square feet and just think they didn't need a building permit if it was under 200 square feet. So they would add an addition onto their house without getting a building permit because it was under 200 square feet,
But it's still required for residential.
but it's still required.
Okay, and so, and that, you know, some of these other exemptions, that's fine, but it's the under the 200 square feet that kind of, I feel like maybe we need more discussion around that. So you're saying only storage, but, I mean, you know, if somebody wants to erect like a larger compost bin or a little playhouse, chicken coop, livestock shelter. So all of those then would require a building permit, it sounds like.
A playhouse wouldn't.
Chicken coop?
The chicken coop, depending on the size of it, would. So if it was over 200 square feet, right? Or if you were agricultural, then you wouldn't.
If you're an actual farm, you
Yeah.
can build your chicken coop.
Yep.
So the under 200 square feet isn't exactly just for storage sheds. I guess that's what I'm trying
Yeah.
to get at.
Yeah, I guess to clarify that a little bit, it's about habitable space, right? As long as you're not going to be staying in
Sure.
it,
And
you're not
that's-
making an accessory dwelling unit.
That's the exact language I was looking for, is that to still have those exemptions of non-habitable space under 200 square feet. Because, you know, we've got in these rural communities, all types of these structures that people are building that they rely on for food. You know, I mean, food insecurity is a huge issue out in rural areas. And so I just want to make sure that they're still able to go and build their chicken coops, have their goat shelters, you know, things that they rely on, and not have to get building permits for all of those little tiny non-habitable structures. That was just my main point of clarification. So, yeah.
That's a good point.
We will have a robust FAQ that will go out with this.
Yeah. Non-habitable is key.
I guess, sorry, one more thing, since on the agricultural structures, I appreciate all your work, and I understand the guardrails, I understand people, abusing, you know, the previous agricultural exemption. I felt like it was pretty robust already. I have an agricultural exemption for a pole barn that we built with lumber we milled on our home site, you know? And it was, to me, it was a big deal signing that. I mean, that's attached to my deed, you know, and if I go to sell my property, I mean, somebody looks at that and they see that I swore that this was only gonna be used for agricultural use. I don't know. I mean, I think people are gonna abuse things no matter what you do, unfortunately, right? But I felt like that we had a pretty robust system in place previously that allowed somebody like me to not have to get a full-scale building permit for my pole barn. That's my only other comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, are we still looking for a motion? Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd like to once again renew my objections on a few things, starting with, I understand and I respect county commissioners are the elected officials, but you do only represent the small number of people who voted in the election and the people that voted for you as well. But it's your job as representatives to represent everybody, not just the 25% of the people that you may have gotten votes from in Missoula County. Once again, I'd like to object that building permits were never voted on by the people of Missoula County. And I think that that is the only way that it should be put in. Adding building permits to a house not only says $50 for a permit, but also means you have to hire an engineer or some other thing, which could add $100,000 to a building project. Now, if you have a family of 4 that needs an extra bedroom for their kids, instead of making 4 kids share 1 bedroom, if you have a senior citizen family member that needs to be taken care of, you need the space to do that. I totally reject that it is the government's job to guarantee that your home is safe. If somebody's house collapses, they cannot sue Missoula County. Even if Missoula County had issued a building permit, even if Missoula County did the inspection on the property, the building permit inspection on the property, which probably should happen that way. But I think ultimately it's up to the homeowner to build an improvement which they can afford, which is safe for the people that are in it. It is not the county's job to tell people what they can and can't do on their own land. That being said, not everybody can afford a McMansion. In the current building process, if you hire an engineer to stamp something or to build a house, is very similar whether you're building a small house or if you're building a great big mansion. And by doing this, we are hurting the poorest of people in Missoula County that need shelter. And I understand the idea of building a house that you can pass down through generations. It's going to withstand everything in a hurricane, but I've also seen fires, floods, and everything destroy homes. And some people just want to simply have a place to live as opposed to living on the street. And that means building an extra room for a family member, or maybe a small shed or something like that for somebody to have extra space. And so I'd just like to once again renew my objection that this has not been a democratic process, that due process has not been informed to all the voters. I got a letter in the mail today from the Office of Public Health somebody showed it to me at my place, that reminding people on food stamps to sign up to vote. If we have the money to send those kind of letters, how come we can't send a ballot to people or add to a ballot, would you like building permits on your house in Missoula County? And that hasn't been done. It came from the consent of the voters yet. And unfortunately, like I said, I understand the county wants mansions that have lots of property taxes. The banks want very expensive houses that last long mortgage terms and that they can charge a lot of interest on. But nobody is speaking out for the poorest person. And we talked about public comment earlier. I didn't see the public comments from everybody else online and see what everybody else was saying. You kind of summarized them. I didn't know if the county commissioners had actually received those public comments or just you. So I also wanted to ask that question as well too.
Yes, so I did a presentation to the county commissioners with the results from the survey. And then just to back up a little bit about the engineering. So not everything in triggers needing engineering, okay? So we're not looking at adding costs onto projects just to ensure that it's safe no matter what. There's certain parameters that will fall into needing engineering, and it honestly comes down to the project and where the project is located.
Thanks, Kevin. And you're exactly right, Mr. Halverson. The majority of what we do, like everything that you saw transpire today, is not going before the voters as a referendum. And that is a function of our form of government here, and that we are representatives that are making decisions on a daily basis. And ultimately, the referendum will be at the ballot box to vote us out of office if folks do not.
There's one thing that you said I just have to completely disagree with, that the county wants mansions. That's a ridiculous statement. If we were to say we haven't actually got together and said, what do we want in housing? But we would want adequate housing for everybody, fully understanding that there's a spectrum of housing. There are people that need 1-bedroom apartments. There are people that need starter homes. There are people that need ADUs for their mother-in-law. And our desire for housing is to see everyone in a house that works for them. It is not about property tax revenue. It actually costs more to deliver services to a house typically than that house generates in revenue. So you're straight up wrong there.
Rita Hagel has her hand raised.
Rita, go ahead. We cannot hear you, Rita. Nope, no audio.
It's the Public Works building.
How about now?
Hey, gotcha. Thank you.
Got it?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. I just wanted to back up one thing that Kevin had mentioned too, just into a little bit more detail about the engineering. We do recognize that a lot of projects that come through our department that we're seeing now do not require engineering. Keep in mind that engineering is based on the structure. If you design a structure that's got, a wall full of windows because you want to see the gorgeous views of Missoula County, That's going to require engineering. So really it's kind of in the public's hand to design those structures so that they wouldn't require engineering, which will then also keep their costs low. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there and make sure that everybody understands that not every project that comes through us for review does require that engineering. It's the design of the structure as well as following the state regulated building codes, and anything that falls outside of that prescripted method of building, it then throws it into engineering. So that's really kind of at the hands of the engineer and the architect or the designer or the homeowner who's drawing their own plans to kind of keep that on the lower end of the spectrum so that they don't have to have that engineering. That's all.
Thanks, Rita.
So it's subject to interpretation of the building department and not necessarily to a set of standards?
There's parameters. So snow load is one of them. And then as Rita mentioned, like if you have a lot of windows in a wall, that has to do with shear strength. And essentially we're not designers, right? So we're reviewing the plan for code compliance. And when it falls out of the path of the code, you can still do it, but you have to have engineering.
And is there a written set someplace that people can figure out what's going to trigger a engineering permit versus what's not?
Yeah, so up codes, IRC, you can get all the codes online. And you
We
can
also-
go through that. Reach
Yeah,
out.
we also-
Rita, go ahead.
We also have all of those listed on our MissoulaCounty.build website under resources. You can research all the codes yourself.
How about a motion? Second.
I move that the board approve the resolution for building permit exemptions that amends resolution 2006-025 and resolution 2020-070.
Second that.
Further public comment at this point? For discussion. Okay, and again, I would just reiterate the goal of this program is to ensure public health and safety. And for me, at least, it's not so much the person who is currently occupying the house, although I am concerned about their safety also. It's the person a few years from now who might not have built the shabbily constructed structure, who moves in and could have life or safety issues associated with that. So it's well beyond the current state of affairs. If it was just that, you know what? Roll the dice, the roof might collapse on you and that's a bad deal, but I don't want to have someone jeopardizing future owners of that residence. Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you, Kevin.
Thanks, Rita and
Thanks,
Kevin.
Kevin.
Yeah.
And
You have one quick discussion item just to start.
okay, that completes all of our action items today. Chris, what is your discussion item?
Yeah, so Christina, I think, is going to pop in really quickly and join us, but we've been going through, Dave, you had sent an email to staff regarding the packed nature of your guys' schedule, which is true. So we thought it was about time probably to go through the list of standing meetings, which is the, nice 4.5 pages of legal paper that covers the month, one for each week in the month. And there's Christina right there with copies. For folks who are not expecting you to make changes today, but we wanted to give you guys a copy and wondered if you want staff to go through and highlight any of the ones that might be consolidated or consider coming off of your schedule, if that would be helpful, or how you want to approach that this year as we try and look for, I think, Dave, you described it as daylight in your schedule.
Daylight would be good.
So there are a lot, as you guys know. So you won't be making any decisions today about moving stuff around, but just wanted to get that conversation started and see if there was anything staff could do to help identify potentially some of the meetings where we could create.
Oh, it's separated on the pages.
Would you all like to take the first crack at it? Would you like staff to take a?
I mean, I think I can take a first crack and then.
Yeah, I can.
Okay.
take a look and then.
You're not suggesting right here on the fly, are you?
No, I'm simply suggesting if you, so staff knows, if you would like staff to go through this list and highlight anything that we think might be things that you could consider, then we need to know that so staff can take the time to do that. Or if you would rather do it yourself, that's just fine too.
Take it first.
I will take a stab
too.
and then.
Okay.
Yeah, fix it.
So we'll put this on an agenda probably in a couple weeks to come back to and revisit as the official one where we go through and you talk about what things you'd like to move around and everything so that it's noticed, but just wanted to find out whether you needed staff to start that process or if you all wanted to, so. But it sounds like the commission is going to start that, so. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys.
Is there anything else that we need to discuss at this point in time? Okay.
Thanks for
We will
coming.
be adjourned as our admin public meeting for today.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.